All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to BGA's Tuesday Morning Coffee Talk. These are our weekly sessions where we provide industry insights to agents. We share product updates, market trends, policy changes, and marketing that will help agents find the sales to grow their business. We post these on YouTube every Tuesday, and for our listeners, on your podcast platform of choice. My name's Trent Zimmermann. I will be your host. And this week, we are joined by a good friend of the firm, Brooks Tingle, President and CEO of John Hancock. Now, Brooks, I've heard a lot about you. I'm a personal fan of your work as I have my own policy. And so it's finally a pleasure to meet you.
Hey, Trent, it's great to be with you. Great. I've heard so much about you and great to see you sort of kind of in person. What passes for in person these days, right?
Right.
But grateful both for the work you do and for being a customer as well.
Well, you know, I'm happy to be a customer. I love the John Hancock app. I love Vitality, so I'm happy to give you my business. Now, let's start off with the obvious. You're out in Boston, and I know it's tough watching a Super Bowl where Tom Brady and the Patriots aren't playing in it. How'd you fare?
Boy, I thought this was going to be somewhat of a friendly discussion, Trent. You really know how to rub salt in the wound. I will say for 20 years, sometimes you don't realize what you have until it's gone. I will say I realized that what we had as Patriots fans when it was happening was not normal. I try to tell my kids all the time, this isn't normal. Enjoy every moment of it. So it still hurts, I have to say, a bit to have the postseason. I mean, you get used to it for 20 years. Postseason was a given. Super Bowl was almost expected. So it's a bit painful, but I have to say there's actually something enjoyable about watching a game where you're not so heavily invested that you don't enjoy it. I probably really haven't ever enjoyed a Patriots Super Bowl. So yesterday I was actually able to enjoy the game, or at least the second half of it, which was a lot more entertaining than the
Yeah,
first half.
I get that. As a Chargers fan, it's nice to watch games that aren't causing you anxiety attacks.
You
Uh,
have you have a lot of those, Trent. Yes.
yeah. Now, let's start from the beginning. You graduated from University of New Hampshire. Did you have any ambition to follow your father's footsteps, become a pilot, or did you always know you wanted to take a different path?
It's funny. My dad was a Navy pilot, and when he left the Navy, became a pilot and was a captain for American Airlines for 30 some years. And it's funny. Some parents don't really try to steer their kids in the direction that they went. Others do. My dad definitely wanted me to be a pilot, and still to this day mentions it some. I think he kind of understands what I do and appreciates it, but I think he'd prefer I was flying a F-18 around somewhere, I'm sure. But no, I didn't really ever think about that, to be honest with you. Candid, coming out of undergrad, I had no idea what I was going to do. I knew I was going to go to grad school, and I did go on to grad school. But I will say, having had the opportunity to become CEO of the company almost a year ago now, it's actually kind of gratifying to start as literally this clueless kid who didn't have a particular sense of what they wanted to do, and then have a chance to run the company someday. And when I say I didn't have an idea what I wanted to do, I knew I wanted to make an impact. I knew I wanted to work hard. I wanted to learn and things like that, but I'd be lying if I said I had any clue where life was going to take me.
You didn't think you would end up in life insurance?
No, not at all. And that was really just sort of happenstance, to be honest with you. It's funny how things happen. And of course, I'm a bit of a, I don't know, you could either say unicorn or dinosaur insofar as there aren't many people anymore. And my guess is, Trent, among you and your cohorts, there are so few that spend really their whole career with one brand. I joke that I worked for one brand my whole company, but my whole career, sorry, but two different companies. I was with John Hancock when we were a standalone entity for
Hmm.
about half my career. And then we were acquired by Manulife Financial, a Canadian parent. And while still operating under the Hancock brand, we're quite a different company, more of a global company, a bigger company, 35,000 employees worldwide. So one brand, two companies is still rather the exception in a day where I think people switch employers like 4.1 every 4.1 years now or something. So
Yeah.
again, either a unicorn or a dinosaur. I'll go with a unicorn, but somebody could fairly call me a dinosaur too, I suppose.
So how'd you end up then at John Hancock to last there so long?
Well, it's kind of an embarrassingly simple story as to how I ended up at Hancock. I finished undergrad. Originally, I was going to go straight to grad school on the West Coast. I decided I didn't want to, and um, my the young lady I was involved with at the time, her dad was good friends with the CEO of Hancock, and they played golf together all the time. And I was enjoying the summer after graduation down at Martha's Vineyard with some friends. And at one point, parents called and said, "You thinking about getting a job here at some point, Brooks?" And I said, "Well, yeah, sure." And they're like, "How about now?" So I called my friend at Hancock and said, "Okay, I'm ready to start." And it wasn't totally mindless because of the connection, to be honest with you. Every Friday, they would go through all the different jobs that were open in the company, and they all sounded the same to me, Trent. I didn't know an auditor from an
Yeah.
accountant, from a salesperson to an actuary to whatever. Um, I just remember saying late July of that summer to the HR person that would call and mention the job, saying, "Hey, these jobs all sound the same to me. What job do you think I should do? I want to be able to make an impact. I'm fortunate to not have to like make the most money day one. I really want to kind of think about 3 to 5 years down the road." And I ended up starting in a part of the company that not a lot of people coming right out of undergrad started in, more on the operations side, working with customers, working with the brokers that represent us. And it was the best thing that ever happened in terms of learning the business, and was actually quite blessed the way it worked out. And then within a couple of years, within a year, I think I was in a leadership position and kind of worked my way up from there. But those experiences, literally right on the front lines of how our business actually works and talking to real customers, it's resulted in me never. So many people I know in our industry think of customers in terms of, oh, well, we have 10 million customers. Oh, these are the policy numbers, or these are the product types. And because of that experience, and maybe just part of who I am, I think of every customer, every advisor we work with, like as a real human being. I've spoken to so many of them myself that I've heard so many stories about the way the impact our products can make in people's lives. Over the years, I oversaw the claims department, for example, and just so many moving stories. I'm sure you've lived firsthand with your clients and your dad's clients and your firm's clients, that just about the amazing impact that our solutions can make. So it was a great experience. I wouldn't trade for anything.
Well, as I understand, now that you're the CEO, you're touted as quite the optimist. And John Hancock's been known for a lot of innovation since you've taken leadership role there. So how has your optimism impacted the decisions you've made then for this company?
Yeah, thanks. I'm sure there are people in my life that wouldn't call me an optimist, but I do think I am. And I guess one thing I want to say as a leader, and for all of you leaders that may be watching this, blind optimism is not healthy. Like, people do not want to follow a leader with blind optimism.
Mm.
But when the optimism is born from a place of values and conviction and passion and motivation, about doing really good things in society and for customers, that sort of optimism, I think, is very infectious. And frankly, true innovation in any industry, particularly in ours, the life insurance industry, it's great. We're 161, coming up on 162-year-old company, which means a lot of great things. We've never been more financially strong. We're obviously resilient. People trust us. We've seen it all, literally, but the insurance industry has not been known for innovation, and there are a bunch of reasons for that. And innovating is hard in a really old, established industry, highly regulated industry. I think regulated by each of the 50 states. Certain products more of a national level. So, again, innovating is hard. We have to innovate to make our products, our solutions, our services relevant to today's consumers. And to do that innovation, to get through that hard work, to get through the barriers, you have to believe in what you're doing. And that's where I talk a lot about mission, purpose, values, conviction, which I think I'll probably ultimately ends up sounding like optimism. Like, we can do this because we have to do this. I mean, some of the solutions we're offering now through our, our wonderful distribution partners like you all are literally having the impact to change people's lives in the most profound way. We may have an opportunity to talk about some of the customers who have written me and said, John Hancock literally saved my life. Whereas through a screening test we made available to them at no charge, or another screening test that we offered them to get points and things like that through our Vitality program. So to me, I don't know if I'd call it optimism so much as just driven to do really helpful things. And sorry, just to loop back to the beginning of my story, yeah. My mom grabbed me one time, my brother and I think we were like first or second year in college or something. And my mom grabbed a hold of us and said, you guys seem like you're pretty smart. I think you're going to do probably good things in life, but whatever you do, make sure you use your hearts as much as you use your brains. And to me, I've really found that if you see what John Hancock's doing and trying to do, it's a mix of, I hope, smart business things, but also things that connect with people in a real and a human way, and try to improve their lives. For most of our industry's history, we've been there at death. And I spend most of my time trying to think about how we can help our customers live better lives while they're living.
A piece you said there about being mission driven, and that kind of led, I think, was the centerpiece of what you all talked about there. And that's a unique thing to hear from a private company. You typically just hear that from nonprofits. And that was insightful, doing good. But how does that impact the people at John Hancock? Has that changed the culture there to be a mission-driven organization?
Yeah, it's a great point, because let me be clear, if any of our shareholders are listening, we are not a philanthropic. I mean, we are philanthropic, sorry. We are not a non-for-profit organization. We care a great deal about shareholder value. But truthfully, Trent, I'm blessed to be a leader of an organization, and we're all blessed to be part of an industry where doing the right things for our customers are also outstanding business. And that's why it's funny. I was doing a media interview shortly after I started this role, and the reporter said, we were like 40 minutes into it, and he said, this is the longest I've interviewed a CEO where we're not talking about, core earnings or EBITDA or, net income or what have you. And I said, well, I'm happy to talk about that. And I spent 20 minutes talking about that stuff. But I'm a firm believer that all of those great results that matter to shareholders, and me, of course, as a leader, flow from a bold and sort of noble aspiration and mission. And in our case, it really couldn't be easier or more logical, at least the life insurance part of our business. I don't think I'm revealing any trade secrets about how we make money. Customers buy a policy, they pay us a premium, we invest those premiums. The longer we're able to collect and invest those premiums before we pay a claim, the more money we make. So it's just a magical confluence of desired outcomes where our customers would like to live longer, healthier lives. And you know what? That would be a good thing for us too. So it's really not about charity or something like that. It's about smart business meets doing things that can be really powerful for our customers. And I think anyone in any business should be thinking about that. You can make some money in the short term, churn and burn or whatever it may be, but sustained success, I think, comes from a really sort of noble sense of mission and purpose and values. And again, we're blessed because our industry, it's one of the easiest things to do in our industry. We have a large block of long-term care insurance policyholders. I'm sure you know, but for those that don't, this is insurance where should you need assisted living care, either in a facility or at home, it pays out a benefit. And whenever I have a chance to address a large group, I ask people to raise their hand if they're really excited, really looking forward to the day that they require assisted living, either in a home or not. And oddly enough, no one raises their hand, which is great because guess what? We kind of hope people don't need that either, because that represents claims for us. So just as we've done for almost 9 years now on the life insurance side, we're challenging ourselves to say, can we engage our 1 million long-term care insurance policyholders through different sets of education, incentives, rewards, an app like what you'd be familiar with through John Hancock Vitality to help them either defer the need for assisted living, compress it, or perhaps in some cases not even need it at all. So it's easy to see these connections of what's good for the customer, what's good for society, is good for our business as well, which to me is the most exciting part of it all.
Yeah. And, you're forcing me to skip ahead because you're touching on such great points that you guys take care of.
Sorry, Trent. Trent, I think that's a polite way of saying I'm going on too long, so we're running out of time.
No.
I'll try to shorten my answers, but I get excited about
That's
this
not
stuff.
at all what I'm saying. The next portion, I was going to ask you about some basics about underwriting, but you hit on a point there that you take care of your existing block of customers. And that was going to be something I wanted to talk to you about, of just your approach to building out your portfolio and how you handle a portfolio approach versus new money approach. You guys seem to take care of your existing block of customers well. Walk me through some of those choices you've made to just make sure they are well taken care of.
Yeah, it's a great question and a very timely one, of course, Trent, with interest rates having done what they're doing. There's probably not a week that goes by where somebody doesn't say, hey, you guys should have a new money rate product. And I guess I'm just really, I've been doing this for a long time. I care deeply about our industry, our customers, the brokers and advisors we partner with. I'm not in this for the short term. And I'm sure we could have a heck of a lot more sales next quarter, the quarter after, if we did that. But I would much rather, over a long period of time, have people see that they can offer their clients John Hancock, knowing that over time, they're going to be treated well and fairly. And if you look at what that means, just take Vitality, for example, a customer who was the first one, you might actually know the first customer of Vitality. I'm not sure, very close to first. But the first person that bought Vitality in 2015 has the exact same features and benefits as the person that buys tomorrow. Whenever we add a new feature or benefit, a partner, the Galleri test by Grail comes along, it's essential to us and to me that be available to every person, not just the person that buys tomorrow. And that flows through to in our investment strategy, our product design strategy. I just think the only formula for long-term success is to be equitable and treat people fairly. Of course, I want to grow our business. Sales are not unimportant to us. We want to grow sales, but not at the expense of shifting value from the next person that buys rather than the person that was thoughtful enough to buy from us a year ago.
Right. Now, Vitality, as we've talked about, that was a breakthrough. I have a policy. My sister has a policy. As you know, my parents have a policy, and many people in our office do. I'm trying to twist my wife's arm to get her to sign up for a policy now. So we're all invested. But what led you to adopting Vitality as part of your life insurance strategy?
So there were a couple things. I woke up, I don't know, 9 or 10 years ago and realized I was a leader in an industry that was offering products that were incredibly difficult to buy and no fun whatsoever to own. And that didn't strike me as a winning formula in the modern digital economy. Hard to buy and no fun to own. And we set out a very simple strategy of make life insurance easier to buy and make it fun to own. People laugh when I talk about it being fun to own life insurance, but there are actually Vitality customers that think it's kind of fun, spinning the wheel and playing healthy squares and all that. But we got a lot more work to do on making it easier to buy, by the way, if we do talk about underwriting. But we wanted to make the ownership process of life insurance more engaging, more digital. We live in a modern digital economy. Every one of us has at least one cell phone, probably a couple, an iPad. Some of you are driving smart cars. You got smart appliances in your home, and life insurance was still this thing that you went through hell to buy. And then we shipped you this big stack of paper, you tucked it away somewhere, and you only thought about your life insurance, maybe once a year when a bill arrived or when the privacy notice arrived. Mm-hmm. If you thought about it otherwise, yes, there was peace of mind that if something happens to me, my kids will be okay. But That's not a fun thought because I'm dead in that story, right? So we just didn't think we could really succeed or thrive, at least the way we want to as an industry, without modernizing it. So we said, okay, how do we have more connection with our customers? How do we make it more of a digital experience? And lo and behold, most people don't wake up really wanting to interact with their life insurance company. So we thought, well, what would have people want to? And we thought, well, how about if we were helping them try to live longer, healthier lives? At the same time, I would say, Trent, I saw what was going on with auto insurance, where if you're a safe driver, you pay lower rates. Health insurance, you do certain things, you pay lower rates. And thought, well, that concept makes more sense with life insurance than any other place that concept exists. Health companies that have wellness programs, they're fine. But since an employee only stays with the company roughly 4 years, it's kind of a mixed track record economically, right? Because the company's investing in your wellness, but then, Trent is 5 companies removed by the time that wellness sort of pays off. We have relationships with customers that average decades, are oftentimes, I'm sure some of you have heard me talk about the claim we paid not too long ago where the client had been a client for 99 years. Parent bought the kid a policy on his first birthday, died shortly after his 100th. So again, we have this very long relationship. We don't need to turn people into marathon runners. Somehow or another, I managed to get to platinum status in Vitality. I promise you, I'm not running marathons. But attainable things, small steps that over a long period of time create a ton of value. Something as simple as, going for a colonoscopy when you're supposed to, or, if you're a woman going for a mammogram when you're supposed to. Most Americans don't actually adhere to those things the way we're supposed to. But if our program through incentives and rewards can help people do that, really powerful. So anyways, there's this confluence of the notion that we should want our customers to live longer, healthier lives. We're in a unique position to try to help them. And in doing so, we can kind of modernize the whole experience. And now, instead of 1 or 2 interactions with our customers a year, we have 20 to 30 a month. And instead of them being just boring, like pay your bill, you're getting a reward, you're getting a discount at the grocery store, things like that. So it's been a wonderful change for us. I think we're closer to the beginning than the end. And the thing that excites me the most, Trent, is the technology that keeps coming and coming and coming. And we're offering this Galleri test from a company called Grail. For those that don't know what it is, I suggest you search it. It's what's called a liquid biopsy, where through a blood draw, they can detect the presence of over 50 types of cancer in your body now. This isn't geez, Trent, you're more likely someday to maybe get a certain type of cancer. It's like, we detect it in your body now, and it tells your doctor where to look for it. We now have many, many customers who have discovered they have early stage cancer as a result of this test that we offered for free through the Vitality program. Just 2.5 weeks ago, a fellow emailed me and told me his story. He said, I feel perfect. I feel great. I would have never had any suspicion I had cancer in lymph nodes under my armpit, but the Grail test came back and told his doctor to look there. So sorry, I'm going on a bit, but that's kind of really how we started. A desire to help people live longer, healthier lives, a desire to modernize what it means to own life insurance.
So with Grail specifically, the story I've heard is you heard about this program on the news at night. And within a month, you were sitting down with their CEO trying to make this part of John Hancock's Vitality. How did that all go down?
Yeah, well, that's true. It might have been actually a week or two that I was in the CEO's office. I don't remember, but I'll never. It was December of 2021. I don't know. I don't really often watch NBC Nightly News. I had it on, and I see this thing about this blood test that can help, detect early stage cancer. And there's a 3-minute segment, I think. I encourage your listeners to Google it, just NBC Nightly News and Grail. By the end of it, I said, okay, we have to offer this to our policyholders. 36% of our customers are going to get cancer. 40% of Americans is a little less than insured population. So 36% of our customers are going to get cancer. Again, back to this sort of concept of outcomes being aligned. A customer, if they're going to get cancer, wants to know as early as possible. I won't bore you with the stats, but survivability way higher the earlier you catch it versus late. And trust me, as a life insurer, those 36% of our customers that are going to get cancer, we'd love for them to know earlier when it's much more treatable. And, I could go on and on about the stories of customers who have been impacted by this offering. But one fellow learned he had stage 2 pancreatic cancer. You almost never hear of pancreatic cancer being diagnosed until it's very late stage, and there's almost nothing that can be done. So think about that for that individual client, priceless for him. Frankly, for us as an insurer, undetected, that would have been a death claim within 8, 10, 12 months. He had 45 straight days of treatment, had surgery, and just ran a half marathon recently. So I hope he has another 50 years, but I know he's got at least another 5, 10, 15 because he happened to buy John Hancock, because he happened to sign up for Vitality. And when this offer came, he happened to say, yeah, I think I'll do that test. And again, we have so many of those stories now. We have another story, not with Grail, but we give points for people getting colonoscopies and mammograms when they're supposed to. I'll never forget getting an email from a woman that said Vitality saved my life. And I know some of you have heard this before, but it's what motivates us and me. Again, the email subject said Vitality saved my life. And I thought, geez, she probably lost 10 or 20 pounds. Goodness knows I need to, but she's probably being a bit hyperbolistic when it said save my life. Started reading her story, and she was 37 years old and was within a couple hundred points of reaching platinum status in Vitality for the 3rd year in a row. And those of you that know the program, 3 years in a row at platinum status, you get a free Amazon Prime subscription. And she said, I really wanted that free Amazon Prime subscription. Interestingly, she could have easily afforded Amazon Prime. I think she already had, but she really wanted that for free. She was looking at the menu of point earning activities and saw a mammogram, 400 points. And you know the rest of the story. She went and found early stage cancer, treated. She's fine now. But she said, Brooks, I can assure you, I would not have gone for a mammogram for years if I didn't want your silly John Hancock Vitality points. So anyways, those stories just give you a sense of A, what motivates us, B, why it's good for customers and good for the company. And but where I started on that, was, so today, life-saving technology are things like screening, things like colonoscopies, mammograms, the Grail test. But who knows what it'll be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And I've got a whole team of people looking to see, what are the next innovations. Even something like the Apple Watch. We've had people who've said they got an Apple Watch through the John Hancock Vitality program. That saved their life by, signaling the AFib. And, who knows what these things will look like in 5 years. So I tell people all the time, when you look at John Hancock, when you look at Vitality, don't even think about, the free Apple Watch or the grocery store discount or whatever. What you really should think about is we're making a commitment, and it's actually in the contract, by the way, to be with your clients 5, 10, 50, if somebody has the policy, 90 years from now, whatever the then greatest science and technology that's going to help extend people's lives, we're going to be offering it to your clients. And that's what really excites me. And there's just a ton of really cool innovation happening in that space. And to be able to bring it to our customers is really exciting.
Well, I want to dig into the successes you've had with Vitality, but before we do that, I want to stay on Grail for just a second longer, because I think there's a really great story there. You had an opportunity to have exclusive rights over Grail. Why'd you pass that up?
Well, it's a funny question. So in the fall of 2022, I was at a board meeting for our parent company, Manulife, and it was probably a bit of an audition to see if I was ready for this job or not. And I was talking about Grail and Galleri and how we were offering it to our customers. And a board member raised their hand and said, please tell me you got exclusivity with Grail, and how long did you get exclusivity for? And it was one of those moments in your career where you say, there's no way I can sugarcoat this. I got to just say what happened and why. And I shared that we specifically did not ask for exclusivity to work with Grail because first of all, my mom never smoked a cigarette in her life, got lung cancer at 64 because she was a non-smoker. The doctors didn't think to look for lung cancer in the face of symptoms for a while. So, and she passed away within 10 months of her diagnosis. So it's really personal to me, as I'm sure everyone on this call knows friends and family that have been impacted by cancer. So it really seemed wrong to me to try to undertake a commercial relationship where I would basically be saying only John Hancock policyholders can find out if they have cancer early. That just felt wrong to me. And not only did I say I don't want exclusivity, I want every other carrier to be able to offer that to their clients. I think they all should. And I would do my best to help them figure out how to do it, because we started first. We've now offered it to over 50,000 of our clients, your clients and our customers. And some other companies have struggled a bit to figure out how to engage their customers on it. And I've actually stood up in different industry forums saying, I'm more than happy to share with you our experience, how we've done it, how to get people to end up taking it. Just to, again, back to values and principles. It doesn't seem right that only a person that happens to have life insurance with John Hancock should have access to this potentially life-changing tool.
Yeah.
And thankfully, the board all applauded, and I got the job. But it was a little bit of a dicey call there when I was pressed for exclusivity.
Well, if people are looking to knock this off, it's obviously because it works. So what are some of the successes you've seen, with simple things as BMI, longevity, et cetera?
Yeah, and this is another thing that makes me probably a little strange. I do hope people copy it. It's funny, when we were bringing this to market, literally this time 9 years ago, we were scheduled to launch in April. And I remember being in meetings, my team would say, geez, I don't know, Brooks, we may have to push the launch date back. And I would pound the table and say, we cannot miss the date. Someone's going to beat us to market with this, because it just makes too much sense. It's just too logical. Why would every life insurance company not try to help their customers live longer? Frankly, even if they're just selfish, why wouldn't they? I mean, we do it because, yes, we like to make money, but we also care about our customers and society. So anyways, I thought everyone was going to rush into this space. And interestingly, in other markets around the world, it is common. In Asia, all the big players offer something like this. And in other markets, it's more common. For some reason, the US has been a bit slower. It is hard to do. It's, if it was just a marketing gimmick, it would be easy, right? Hey, wear an Apple Watch and get a discount. There's a ton of science, actuarial, medical, behavioral behind it. So it's hard to do. So again, I do hope people copy it. I do want everyone to have access to this. I'm confident we'll always have a better program than the other people, but I think it'd be good for the industry if everyone offered these types of solutions. And, I guess I would say this in terms of outcomes. Everyone is rightly very, very skeptical about behavior change. And trust me, there are multiple dimensions of my behaviors that I try to change, and stubbornly unable to. But so we're very sanguine about that. We don't engage every customer with the aspiration to turn everyone into a marathon runner or what have you. What we do, though, is say, if we engage all of our customers with the right set of tools and education and powerfully incentives and rewards, as a population of customers, on average, they'll be more physically active. They'll buy healthier foods. They'll see their doctor more often, go for those screening tests the way they're supposed to. And the data now, 9 years into it, Trent, is really, really powerful about the fact that happens. Our customers, on average, take twice as many steps as the average American does, much more likely to go for their colonoscopy, mammogram, whatever it may be. We see year-over-year improvements in key biometrics like A1C, BMI. The biggest challenge by far is getting people to start. Once people start using the app, very little drop off, but you got to get them to start. It's sort of like we dropped a treadmill off in the driveway, and are you going to leave it sitting out there? Are you going to hang clothes on it, or are you going to use it, right? And frankly, as somebody who has a lot of clothes hanging off his treadmill right now, I can relate to that. But anyways, the results have been very powerful, and we're within a couple of years of being able to publish some really powerful data about how much longer, on average, somebody that gets to platinum status, gold status, how much longer they live than somebody, say, at bronze status or who doesn't use Vitality. I'm seeing the trends on how That data is emerging. It's not quite ready to publish, but it's going to be powerful when you do see it. And I can tell you it's making the impact that we wanted it to have.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about the other side of this of making it easier to buy. And we were talking about that basic underwriting. I understand you have no fluids up to 5 million and some real-time underwriting right now. And that you've added writers like long-term care and critical illness. How have you streamlined the whole system there to make it easier to sell?
Well, if I'm being honest, which is my inclination to do, like, we're just kind of dancing around what really needs to be major innovation in the life insurance buying process. Some of you have heard me say this in the past. Sorry for repeating it, but I would maintain, I think, with a fair amount of probability of being accurate in this, that life insurance is the most difficult product to purchase in the modern economy. And I often joke that buying a home is difficult, but your realtor doesn't ask you for your blood and urine. And buying life insurance more often than not still involves a lengthy, invasive, just time-consuming process. And it just doesn't need to be that way. So we have innovated as an industry, and I'm proud of that. We do have more sort of express underwriting things, and but it's weird. Our industry will celebrate a life insurance application going from 33 pages to 28 pages. So yay, we've improved it by whatever percent. My vision for the future of underwriting, I was just sitting with our chief underwriter and head of analytics and others the other day on this. Within a couple years, to me, underwriting should involve you giving us your client's name, birth date, and an authorization to access their electronic health records. And that's it. What we put people through now, and including the advisors that represent us and offer our products to their clients through now, is just too cumbersome. So you can envision a world where, most everyone on this call probably right on their phone, if you were bored listening to me and were interested in your most recent doctor's visit, could call up an app that would show you your lab results from your most recent visit. Unfortunately, I can actually see my doctor's notes too, which are not always what I want to read, but all of us have access at our fingertips to our full medical records. What are we doing chasing after APSs and all this other stuff? And we actually surveyed U.S. consumers. Now, this was 2 or 3 years ago. I'm sure it's gone up, and said, if it meant getting life insurance in a much faster, easier way, would you be willing to give a company one-time limited use authorization to your electronic health records? And like 65% of people said, sure. And I bet that's gone up. So to me, that's where the process should start. We find the information we need, then maybe we play something back to you or to your client that says, okay, here's our understanding of your medical history. Do we have it right? If so, here's your price. Much, much faster. Now, I want to be clear, underwriters are not going to go away. I have had the opportunity to lead the underwriting function lots of times in my career. And, underwriting is not pure science. It's not going to be purely, okay, we see these medical things, run a formula, and here's your price. I firmly believe underwriting is a healthy dose of art with the science, a healthy dose of experience of an underwriter, particularly at the larger face amounts, who's seen, 200 instances of a certain profile and has a feel for a case, who knows the advisor who's bringing it to them and trusts, or in some cases maybe doesn't trust so much, that what the advisor is saying about their knowledge of the client and their health and their lifestyle and things like that. So I want to be absolutely clear. None of this is going to replace the underwriter, but the underwriter should be much more involved in reviewing data, talking to the BGA, in certain instances, maybe talking to the advisor, making sure we get to the best outcome for everybody. But I think life insurance just has to be. I've seen too many times, Trent, I'm sure you have in your career, of people that have passed away, particularly unexpected situations where they did not have life insurance or did not have enough. And these weren't folks that couldn't afford it. They're folks that didn't get around to it. And I think one of the reasons a lot of people don't have the life insurance they need or should have is because it's a real pain in the backside to buy. mean, thankfully, we have amazing firms and teams to work with, like yours. But I mean, heck, I'm in the industry. I grew up in the industry, and different times I put off getting it because it's a pain. And thankfully, we have people like you that help customers through it. But we have to reduce those friction points and those barriers. The other thing I'd like us to do is be more welcoming as it relates to people with a range of health conditions. I think another reason sometimes people don't apply is nobody likes to be judged, right? Am I going to be told I don't qualify, and am I be told I'm not, have to pay a high price? Right now, about 6% of the people that apply with us, we say, can't really insure you now. Come back in a couple of years, maybe you're more healthy. Why aren't we wrapping our arms around those people and saying, hey, we'd love to insure you, but you need to get your A1C from this to that. And hey, we've got a program to help you. So we're working on some things like that to maybe as an industry not make it feel quite so judging, and maybe kind of pull people in rather than have this gate that opens and closes based on their medical information.
Right.
Within reason, of course.
So, I mean, I was going to talk to you about, we have less agents focusing on just solely life insurance, and we have more diverse now. And I think you answered a lot of that, of the distribution of policies changing, the information you're looking for. But how then are you making John Hancock, especially with Vitality, stand out in a market that just isn't up to date as much as they used to be?
Yeah, I think that modernization of things is important, and it comes in a couple of forms. Modernization of mission and purpose. We're not just here to sit around and wait to pay a claim. And I don't take anything away from that. Like that's the most important thing we do at the end of the day, is make that claim payment. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got to be about more than that. So, the evolved mission and purpose that I've spoken to, helping people have better lives while they're living, not just being there at death, is a big part of it. Digital is a big part of it. Let's face it, again, we live in a digital economy. I don't necessarily actually love it, but you go to a sporting event, your ticket's digital now. More times than not, you get on a plane, you're using a digital thing. And our industry has not been too quick on the digital side. So we're pushing there. Digital it's very interesting as it relates to, you asked about distribution. The industry and consumers have spoken loud and clear. For 20 plus years, I've heard people talk about digital sales and direct to consumer. And if there was ever a time that direct to consumer sales of life insurance were going to make it, it was going to be during COVID, right?
Right.
And yes, some sales spiked then, but post-COVID, a bunch of them lapsed. And the bottom line is direct to consumer selling of life insurance is just not a winning formula. Sorry. We tried it at one point in my career. I've seen it tried elsewhere. You look at some of these insurtechs that tried to do it, good companies, smart people, but they've all realized that it's darn difficult. So it's going to be an advisor-centric model as far as the eye can see. But I think carriers can do a better job of digitally enabling the work that advisors do. So advisors get to spend more time, giving advice, finding clients, giving advice to clients, engaging in planning with clients, and less time trying to navigate things through the labyrinth of insurance company home offices and things like that. So I think digital is going to be a big part of it as well.
Right. Now, this last year, you hosted your first longevity conference. You're doing that again this year, and you're planning on growing it. What's your goal with this conference?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning it. It was an idea we had last year. We had a symposium called Longer, Healthier, Better. We can help make some of the videos available if you don't already have them in your audience. Again, given this mission and purpose, we have twofold as it relates to the end customer, helping them live longer, healthier, better lives, as it relates to our vital distribution partners, helping them have more to talk about with their clients, not just about here's the planning we're going to do for when you die. Talk about here's what I can offer you through carrier relationships that's going to improve your quality of life every day. Might just save your life with something like this Grail test. So we wanted to reinforce that. So we invited a couple hundred of our great distribution partners to Boston, the leaders of the different trade associations, the leaders of our reinsurance partners, to a day and a half symposium where we brought together literally the leading authorities and everything from nutrition, sleep science, stress management, early cancer detection, the future of cancer treatment, go on and on about the different things that would impact. We had a fellow from Quest Labs talking about a new diagnostic tool relating to Alzheimer's, and really to be able to bring people that are the best in their field on these different topics together with our best partners was really meaningful, and the feedback was quite positive. So we had a couple hundred people last year. I think it's going to be a few hundred people this coming year, with an even it's hard to imagine a stronger lineup, but even more, experts in their fields coming and sharing the latest and greatest science and technology, which is great because there's a lot of stuff happening. I tell people all the time, I'm really bullish on longevity going forward. Now, unfortunately, it's not going to be even across society. I think more wealthy people are going to have access to more of these more modern tools than others, but there's some really cool stuff happening. Grail's one of those things now, but other stuff coming. And those are the types of things we'll talk about at this symposium.
Yeah. Now, with let's get to more meat and potatoes of what's happening tomorrow, and some details. We're going to circle back to long-term care a little bit. We're looking at 14 states having task forces. We talked about you having long-term care. We talked about your product being exceptionally good for people to increase their longevity and hopefully not go into that. But any thoughts on if your life insurance policy with a 7702B rider will be acceptable for these states?
Boy, it's what you'll have to help me out there. 14 states and what?
With their long-term care laws coming up, or their proposed ones, if they do come up, will your life insurance policy with the
I see. Where residents are incentivized to have long-term care. Sorry, like Washington State did.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Sorry.
It was a close way to ask that question, but yeah, we landed the plane.
Okay. First of all, I think long-term care is a huge need in society. It's a pressing concern, and so many companies, including us, have moved away from selling standalone long-term care policies. That we need to be creative. I personally think that the very best way for a consumer to access long-term care protection and a carrier to offer it is through what we call some sort of hybrid product. Life insurance chassis, long-term care rider. And because that way, if it's a standalone long-term care policy, you're going to use it or lose it, right? You're either going to end up having a long-term care claim event, and these policies aren't cheap anymore, or you're going to have no benefit from it. With a life insurance policy with long-term care rider, sorry to say, one of two things is definitely going to happen. We're going to die. So, you're going to get value from the life insurance protection come one day. Should you happen to need a long-term care, should you have a long-term care need or event, to be able to utilize that value there, I think is the perfect opportunity to do it. So I think we're working closely with the different states looking at these types of regulations. I hope and expect that type of coverage will be, qualifying, if that's the right term, because I do think it's a smart way to offer long-term care and for customers to receive it, but TBD, I guess.
Right. And then you have an exciting new group life product, the Premier Benefit IUL. Where do you see this being positioned in this conversation?
Yeah, since we launched Vitality years ago, hardly a week would go by where I wouldn't get a call from a CEO or head of human resources or something saying, "Hey, I love what you guys are doing with Vitality. I want my employees to have it, or I want my top 300 partners to have it." And we didn't really have a good solution for that. And we engineered a proper solution, frankly, with a lot of input from you and your team and others who have experience in the space, to be able to offer all the benefits of course, life insurance, of course, Vitality, long-term care rider when people want it, in the employer setting. And we've seen very, very strong interest in that so far. And 40% of the people access life insurance through their employer. So we need to show up there, and I think we're showing up there with a very unique product in terms of the solution itself and the value from all those things I mentioned, but also a pretty slick buying process where sometimes in our industry, if the buying process is simple, it means you're going to pay a lot higher rate. We've tried to come up with a more simple application process where you don't necessarily sacrifice on the rate that you're going to be charged.
Great. And it's an awesome product. We're looking forward to selling more of it. Now,
Cool.
I have one more question for you. Then I'm going to hand you off to my father. He'll give you some lightning round questions, and we'll open it up so we can get you out of here. But being the eternal optimist, having that team that's looking forward for the next innovation, what developments in the next 5 years are most exciting to you?
Oh gosh, I mean, it really is broadly within this Internet of Things space, connected, personalized and connected healthcare. The technology exists today, Trent, that this coming fall, I could be watching a Patriots game on Sunday afternoon and the doorbell rings. I go to the door and it's an EMT that says, "Come with us, Mr. Tingle, you're within 30 minutes of a major cardiac event." And that type of technology, you know, right now the Apple Watch, again, will look for AFib, things like that, more and more devices doing more and more things. So this notion of connected healthcare, I was visiting with somebody at Google not too long ago, and they said, "Brooks, the average car has 450 sensors in it now. The average human has none. That's going to change." And I believe that. I don't know if we're all going to, not to get controversial, I don't know if we'll all have sensors in us and stuff, but you know, high performance athletes already wear skin patches that tell them like, "Hey, you need more potassium, you need more of this." There are ingestibles that some people take now that, you know, say you take 3 pills a day, you take a fourth. It's a you know, Bluetooth device that from the inside of your body will send information to your phone about different things happening in your body. So I think generally that notion of connected healthcare is what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, I'm going to bring in my father, and he's going to ask you some lightning round questions before we send you off here.
Awesome. Hey, Barry.
Hello, Brooks. Yeah, guys, that was excellent, truly.
Oh, thank you.
And you know, Brooks, as you know, I get to hear you speak quite often, and still it was thrilling to hear it, you know, put together again. All right, so guilt-free, rest of your life. You get to use one thing, a spoon or a fork.
First of all, I'm intrigued by the notion that there would be guilt associated with using either one of them, and maybe I'm missing something. But I guess a fork. I'm not, you know, fork.
I would say spoon for me because there's ice cream, and then there's guilt connected to that way too. Maybe.
Okay, I figure I could still claw into some ice cream pretty well with a fork if I had to. But anyway.
True. All right, Bill Belichick, Andy Reid.
Oh boy, Belichick. I suppose
Okay.
that's just out of loyalty.
A lobster roll, should it have mayonnaise or butter?
Oh, mayonnaise for sure.
Okay, I agree with you there. Freshwater or saltwater?
Love them both, but salt, I would say, if I had to choose.
All right. Exeter or Andover?
I think you know the answer to that one,
Yeah,
Exeter.
I do. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. So we might be pressed on time with this, about an hour, so we can open it up for anybody who wants to ask you any questions directly. Anyone out there have a question for Brooks?
I
see
do.
John his hand up.
I do.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I am a longtime Vitality member, and I think one of the greatest things that you added is the Galleri test. And I had it last year, and thankfully it came back negative. But my question is, right now it's just a one-time thing through Vitality. Do you see that becoming something that's offered maybe on an annual basis to people who, let's say, achieve platinum or, you know, something? Because my understanding is you're supposed to have the test annually. Is that right?
Yes. In fact, I do it. Interesting thing about that test. First of all, thank you so much for your question and for being a customer. The test not only gets better the more people that take it, you know, the more hundreds of thousands or millions of people, the test gets better and better. It actually gets better for you and me each time we take it. Like it gets to kind of know you, for lack, I'm putting it very simply. There's a lot more science behind it, but so I do it exactly on the year, 1 year every year on the exact day of the anniversary, because I want to accumulate as many tests as I can, so it gets better and better and more accurate for me. Yeah, so it's a great question. The end game here, I can tell you, which isn't too far away, is that all of our customers, all of us have access to this routinely in the course of our normal care. There's a bill in Congress right now. It's unusual to have a bill with widespread bipartisan support, both sides of the aisle co-sponsoring, signing on to this legislation that would compel Medicare and Medicaid to cover the cost of the Grail or Galleri test once it gets FDA approval. That's probably a couple of years away. I'm not making a prediction. I don't know, but they need to cycle through some more tests. It's approved for use right now under an innovation designation. But once that happens, all insurers will be compelled to cover it. More and more insurers are covering it now, but it's still not the norm. So what we're looking at is sort of this gap between when we started offering it and when everybody gets it. And we're at the point where we need to figure that out. You can be assured that one way or the other, we're going to figure out a way to offer it to you, whether it's on a deeply discounted basis or for free again. We're kind of noodling through some of that math, but we do want to provide that bridge until when it's widely available to all.
Great.
All right, that might be it for you, Brooks.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Well, thanks so much. Real pleasure. Thank you for all that you do and for the time today. It's a real pleasure to be with you.
Where are you sitting right now?
Sunny Newcastle, New Hampshire.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Supposed to snow tomorrow, so that'll be fun.
All right.
Well, good.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
All right.
Thanks, Brooks.
All right.
I got to
Appreciate
sign
it.
this out
See
just for the recording. So thank you all for joining. And please follow, like, and subscribe, and comment, participate with this so we can get you more great content like this. Once again, thank you, Brooks, for joining us, and look forward to hearing from you all more soon.